Good morning, everybody. This is Bob Iaccino, Chief Market Strategist and Head of Research for TrendyTrade.com and TrendyTrade Pro. It is July 31st, last day of the month. Pretty quiet in the pits behind me. Pretty quiet in the on the screens as well. In terms of movement in the equity markets, we're slightly lower right now, and I wouldn't expect us to stray too far from that. Overnight, we got some economic data that really affected metals, especially copper and iron ore, to a certain degree gold. The Chinese PMI, while the headline number, the manufacturing number, fell a little bit short of expectations. It was a miss by 1/10 of a percentage point. You saw construction spending, spurred on by government infrastructure programs, just go through the roof, up above 8% on the increase, and that really sort of spiked precious metals. I'm sorry, base metals, not precious metals. Precious metals went up sort of in concert with the rest of the commodity sector. We had WTI crude above 50 today, so commodities in general rising, and so the continued oil bid that comes from, at this point, some of the turmoil we're seeing in Venezuela with the elections and with Maduro's plans to try and hold on to power, even though he seemed to lose a little bit in the legislative side. And now the U.S. is considering sanctions. Now the U.S. is talking about just ceasing purchases of Venezuelan crude. The U.S. gets a full 1/3 of its imported crude oil from Venezuela. Venezuela gets about 90% of its revenues from crude oil sales. So it could be devastating to the people of Venezuela as well as the government if the U.S. were to do that. Now, is it going to spike crude oil prices? We're not really sure, because what the U.S. could do is they could release an equal amount of barrels from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, the SPR, to sort of offset the price and offset that crude oil, which from Venezuela, it gets here in 3 to 5 days. So it's very difficult to replace that from any other source. We're not sure if they'll do that. Right now, they're just talking about sanctions. Looking at the currency and the rate side of things, the 10-year note jumped up to about 230 in the U.S. yesterday on the yield side, fell back a little bit to 229 now. German Bund yields jumped up above 55 basis points, back down to about 53 now. We're seeing a slight reversal in the dollar, although not against the euro. It's more the dollar index. We don't expect any short-term dollar strength anytime soon, because given some of the data we've gotten, especially out of Europe, Europe CPI, the headline number, came in as expected, but the core number came in a little bit hot, 1.2 versus an expectation of 1.1. That's a year-over-year core number, so a little bit stronger. And then we've also got Eurozone unemployment dropped from 9.1. Let me rephrase that. From 9.2 to 9.1. That was the drop. That's what a drop is. So we're expecting continued strength out of the Eurozone. And then Thursday brings a lot of data. Wednesday, we've got the US ADP payrolls report. But on Thursday, there's quite a bit of data coming out. We've got U.S. durable goods order. We got Bank of England Super Thursday, where they've got a rate decision, they've got a press conference, and they've got an inflation report. There's been a lot of pressure on the Bank of England to potentially raise rates. And then getting into Friday, the granddaddy of them all, the U.S. non-farm payrolls report. So I would expect going into Wednesday, Thursday, to see the equity markets kind of be very quiet. Most of the activity go on in the currency market. Oh, one more thing. If you're into cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin has their hard fork August 1st, where it may split into two currencies. As a matter of fact, it's pretty much assured to split into two currencies. So if you're interested in cryptocurrencies at all, you may want to look up what the hard fork is and how it affects what you're looking at. So that's really sort of a recap of what we're looking at this week. Again, we see most of the activity being dollar weakness in the currency market, continued base and precious metal strength, and lastly, geopolitically, North Korea fired another test missile. They now say the entire United States mainland is within reach. That should help a little bit of a bid to the precious metal side. Lastly, Apple. Apple has their earnings on August 1st, on Tuesday. That could save the entire equity markets, although the usual play with Apple is a little bit of a rally into earnings and then a little bit of a fall or disappointment into that in development conference and well. Apple's up 30% year to date at this point. This is Bob Iaccino, Chief Market Strategist, Head of Research for TrendyTrade.com, TrendyTrade Pro, coming soon, TrendyTrade Hedge.